So I was going to do another video on Magic the Gathering Avatar, the last Airbender's beginner's box. So last time I left off getting ready to start Earthbending for the um, Jumpstart deck. Um, so below Earthbending it actually said wield lands in combat. Rebellious Captives. It's a 2/2 creature, a human peasant ally for 1 in a forest. Exhaust, pay 6. Put 2/1/1 counters on this creature, then airbend 2. Target land you control becomes a 0/0 creature with haste that's still a land. Put 2/1/1 counters on it. When it dies or is exiled, return it to the battlefield tapped. Activate each exhaust ability only once. Haru Hidden Talent. It's a 1/1 legendary creature, a human peasant ally for 1 in a forest. Whenever another ally you control enters, Earthbend 1. The reminder text says target land you control becomes a 0/0 with haste until haste that's still a land. Put a 1/1 counter on it. When it dies or is exiled, return it to the battlefield tapped. So where it earthbends every time you um, have an ally enter the battlefield, if you just build a deck around this one particular guy, you would be, making a lot of land creatures, so to speak. Earth Village Ruffians. It's a 3/1 creature, a human, soldier, rogue. Cost 2, and then a split mana cost of either a swamp or a forest. So it's 3 converted mana cost, one of which is either a swamp or a forest. Whenever this creature dies, Earthbound, then 2. The reminder text says target creature you control target land you control becomes a 0/0 creature with haste that's still a land. Put 2/1/1 counters on it. When it dies or is exiled, return it to the battlefield tapped. Toph, the Blind Bandit. It's a star 3 legendary creature, a human warrior ally for 2 in the forest. When Toph enters Earthbound 2, target land you control becomes a 0/0 creature with haste that's still a land. Put 2/1/1 counters on it. When it dies or is exiled, return it to the battlefield tapped. Toph's power is equal to the number of 1/1 counters on lands you control. So where this deck seems to care about making lands into creatures, and because they're initially a base power of 0/0 that get 1/1 counters on it, this guy is potentially gonna be pretty big because, if you have, you know, two 2/2 land creatures and then 3/1/1 land creatures and another one or two that are 3/3s. I mean that the amount of 1/1 counters is potentially could be pretty big. So the star is just exponentially going to get bigger and bigger, depending on um, just how many things are earth bending. Earth Kingdom Soldier. So 3/4 creature, a human soldier for 4, and then a split mana of either a forest or a plains. It has vigilance. Whenever this creature enters, put a 1/1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures you control. Earthbending lesson. It's a sorcery lesson for 3 in a forest. Earthbend 4. Target land you control becomes a 0/0 creature with haste that's still a land. Put 4 1/1 counters on it. When it dies or is exiled, return it to the battlefield tapped. Badger Mole. It's a 4/4 creature, a badger mole for 4 in a forest. When this creature enters the Earthbend 2, target land you control becomes a 0/0 creature with haste that's still a land. Put 2 1/1 counters on it. When it dies or is exiled, return it to the battlefield tapped. Creatures you control with 1/1 counters on them have trample. So that's pretty cool because this deck seems to care about making lands into creatures, and those land creatures have 1/1 counters on to determine their power and toughness. So basically, all your land creatures are going to have trample. Bumi Eclectic Earthbender. It's a 4/4 legendary creature, a human noble ally for 3 and 2 forests. When Bumi enters Earthbound 1, Bend 1. Target land you control becomes a 0/0 creature with haste that's still a land. Put 1/1 counter on it. When it dies or is exiled, return it to the battlefield tapped. Whenever Bumi attacks, put 2 1/1 counters on each land you control, land creature you control. So that's pretty cool when not only are you basically making a land creature, but you're also, when this guy attacks, it's putting 2 1/1 counters on each land creature you control. I don't know if I'm mispronouncing the name, but Boomy sounds like a pretty cool name. Rocky Rebuke. It's an instant for 1 in a forest. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature an opponent controls. Uh, Green seems to love these kind of cards where you're either having your creature deal damage to an opponent's creature or you're having your creature fight an opponent's creature. Kind of helpful, if they have a stronger creature just to say, oh, I'm going to deal damage, and even if you don't kill that creature, you lower its toughness to then when you enter combat, um, force them to either not block with that guy or have them kill their big guy because you already lowered their toughness. Explore. It's a sorcery for 1 in a forest. You may play an additional land this turn. Draw a card. So even though it does something slightly different, this almost feels like a green version of Opt. Opt is given 1 mana less. It's a Opt is cost an island, and you scry then draw a card. But playing a land is an additional land is slightly better than scrying to draw your card. So kind of like why it would be a 1 mana more, but both decent cards in their color. Pillar Launch. It's a instant for a forest. Target creature gets +2/+2 and reach until end of turn. Untap it. Earth Rumble. It's a sorcery for 3 in the forest. Earthbound 2. When you do, up to one target creature you control fights target creature and opponent's controls. And the reminder text: to Earthbend 2, target land you control becomes a 0/0 with haste that's still a land. Put 2/1/1 counters on it. When it dies or is exiled, return it to the battlefield tapped. Creatures that fight each deal damage equal to their power to the other. So kind of interesting that we had a card earlier that was, your one of your creatures is dealing damage to opponent's creature, and then I was talking about, green likes to do that and the fight ability, and then we get a card that basically is a fight card. Thriving Grove. This land enters tapped. As it enters, choose a color other than green. Tap to add a forest or 1 mana of the chosen color. Then we get to the basic lands. Here we have 7 forest. Next we have counters. I don't remember for sure if I did this in a previous video, so I'll go through it. It's kind of interesting that the counters is the swamp one, but it's buff your team. Gillicorn. It's a 1/1 creature, a wizard for a swamp, and it has Death Touch. The reminder text says any amount of damage this deals to a creature is enough to destroy it. Elephant Rat. So, again, with the, trying to combine 2 different creatures. It's a 1/3 creature, an elephant rat for 1 in a swamp. Has Menace. The reminder text says this creature can't be blocked except by 2 or more creatures. I mean, it only attacks for 1, so unless you buff it, it's gonna hit 1 creature, do its 1 damage, hit the next creature for no damage, but that's neither here nor there. You're kind of tying up 2 of your opponent's creatures to maybe deal damage with one of your other creatures. Longfang Grand Secretist. It's a 2/3 legendary creature, a human advisor for 1, and then it has 2 of the split manas, so it's 1, like I said, 1, a swamp or a forest, and then another swamp or a forest for a total converted mana cost of 3. Whenever another creature you control or a land you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. So, I mean, this is the first thing we see that cares about counters, so if a creature or land's going to the battlefield, or from the battlefield to the graveyard, you're putting a 1/1 counter on a creature you control. Daylight Indoctrination. It's a sorcery lesson for 1 in a swamp. Choose 1. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land permanent from it. That player discards that card. Or Earthbound Bend 2. Target land you control becomes a 0/0. Creature with haste, that's still land. Put 2/1/1 counters on it. When it dies or is exiled, return it to the battlefield tapped. Fire Nation Engineer. It's a 2/3 creature, human artificer for 2 in a swamp. Has raid at the beginning of your end step. If you attack this turn, put a 1/1 counter on another target creature or vehicle you control. So another thing that cares about counters. Earth Village Ruffians. It's a 3/1 creature, human soldier for rogue for 2, and either a swamp or a forest. When this creature dies, they're spent in 2. Target land you control becomes a 0/0 creature with haste that's still a land. Put a 2/1/1 counters on it. When it dies or is exiled, return it to the battlefield tapped. Hog Monkey. So again, was a combining of the creatures. It's a 3/2 creature, a boar monkey for 2 in a swamp. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it gains menace until end of turn. Reminder text says it can't be blocked except by 2 or more creatures. Exhaust. You can pay 5, put 2 1/1 counters on this creature. Activate each exhaust ability only once. Buzzard Wasp Colony. It's a 2/2 creature, a bird insect for 3 in a swamp. Has flying, which kind of makes sense because, birds and insects both fly. When this creature enters, you may sacrifice an artifact or creature. If you do, draw a card. So, black is known for having drawbacks to certain things, like sacrificing to, in this case, draw a card. Whenever another creature you control dies, if it had counters on it, put its counters on this creature. So that's kind of cool that you can move counters to this guy when a creature dies, and where you have the option to sacrifice a creature to draw a card. If said sacrifice creature has the 1/1 counters on it, I'm gonna move those 1/1 counters to this guy. So for 4, that's not too bad. Fire Nation Sentinels. It's a 4/4 creature, a human soldier for 3 in 2 swamps. Whenever a non-token creature an opponent controls dies, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. So, if you're playing against a token deck, not so impressive, but anything that's not a token creature that your opponent controls is dying, this guy says, "Oh, hey, all my creatures get 1/1s." So, you're not just buffing a single creature; you're buffing all your creatures. That's pretty good. Azula Always Wise. It's an instant lesson for 1 in a swamp. Choose 1 or both. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature. So it's kind of interesting that it's 1 or both, but they're both opposites as far as counters. You could do a 1/1 +1/+1 counter and a -1/-1 counter. So most of the time it would be beneficial to put the plus counter on my creature and the minus counter on my opponent's creatures, but there might be some niche times that maybe I want -1/-1 counter on my creature to kill it because I might somehow benefit from one of my creatures dying, or maybe putting a 1/1 counter on one of my opponent's creatures might just be enough to, if it was a multiplayer game, maybe I put a 1/1 counter on a creature that belongs to the person that's going next. If they agree not to attack me but to attack someone else, maybe that would, put the other person out of the game. That 1/1 counter might just be enough to shift, that attack. So kind of interesting, um, the possibilities. Feed the Swarm. It's a sorcery for 1 in a swamp. Destroy target creature or enchantment an opponent controls. You lose life equal to that permanent's mana value. Um, Kind of a unique removal spell because you're losing life, but you're also removing something of your opponent. So good and bad. It's a black card, so obviously there's a drawback sometimes. Ozai's Cruelty. It's a sorcery lesson for 2 in a swamp. Ozai's Cruelty deals 2 damage to target player. That player discards 2 cards. So not only is it dealing damage, but the player's also discarding 2 cards. That's pretty good for 3 mana. And this, then it gets to the basic lands. So it has 7 basic lands and Thriving More, which the other ones seem to have this before the basic land instead of after. So maybe I did do a video about this and just move this card. This land enters tapped. As it enters, choose a color other than black. Tap to add a swamp or 1 mana of the chosen color. And with that, we're back to attacking. So that should be all for the first um, batch of Jumpstart decks. There is one more that I will talk about in the coming week. And then I also have 2 more Final Fantasy decks that I want to talk about. And I did actually receive my um, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Commander deck in the mail recently, so there's definitely some Magic the Gathering related content, coming out in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully, you found some value in this. The Avatar beginner's box, kind of interesting to see how um, some of the Jumpstart decks look, and obviously you can kind of like mix and match a few of them to make closer to a 60 card deck and have some fun with friends. Thanks and have a good day.